Hello, I'm Trish Triumph O'Sullivan, and I'm here to talk to you today about the Aegean art. This is art history, ART1A, and we're going to be talking quickly about this. Let's do a quick overview of this. We'll enter through the Lion's Gate and check out where we're talking about. So this is the area we're talking about up on the top, and then we have a little dig down deeper there. And you can see where the Minoan Palace is here on the map. So they were pretty rich sea traders. They built pleasure palaces. Comfort and decoration were equally important for them. And art was greatly influenced by the sea. You know, they featured a lot of freely shaped forms. This is the octopus jar, about 1500 BCE. They also showed spontaneity and celebration of life, as in this harvester vase, about the same time, 1500 BCE. Here's the bull dance fresco. And the fresco, you guys, if you remember, is a method of painting where pigments are suspended in water and they're applied to a thin layer of wet plaster. So the plaster absorbs the color and the painting becomes part of the wall. It was a ritual game that jump over the bull's back. And the bull was probably a sacred animal, as we talked about. It's like the culture of Spain had the bull as their main kind of totem animal. The Mycenaeans were warriors. They built citadels and fortresses. The blocks used to build their fortresses were so big that the Greeks who came later thought they were built by Cyclops, which was a mythical race of one-eyed giants, right? So you got Bob, the one-eyed builder there. Along with fortresses, they built beehive tombs and sunken royal graves. This one is a death mask, about 1500 BCE, and it's made of beaten gold. It's thought to be the death mask of King Agamemnon from the Homer's Iliad. And here we have a way of cup about 1500 BCE that shows how the Mycenaeans captured bulls. Let's get moving on with our main lecture here. So these were the islands that kind of circled around Delos. Minoan art and Cyclotic art, which was from the Greek mainland. So here's another map. You can kind of see where we're at here. So let's move pretty quickly through these slides. These photographs. I want to really get delve down into their art. This is figurine of a woman. It's Cyclotic Greece, about 1500 to 2300 BCE. It's made of marble, which was very available for them. It has a very striking abstract form. It's a nude woman with arms folded across abdomens and large simple triangles to really dominate this form. It looks very modern, doesn't it? I just want to point out that a lot of this art seems like it could be from the modern times. This is a male lyre player, Cyclotic Greece, 2700 to 1500 BCE. This is a seated musician figurine, male, has echoing shapes. It's very simple geometric shapes and large flat planes. Stairwell in the residential quarter of the Palace of Gnosis, Minoan Greece, 1700 to 1400 BCE, originally made of wood. It was restored in stone. One of the features are these really bulbous cushion-like capitals and distinctive shafts. So the shafts taper from a wide top to a narrower base, which is totally opposite of the Egyptian and later Greek columns. This is a Minoan woman or goddess from the Palace of Gnosis, Greece, 1450 to 1400 BCE. The painting method really shows a lively spirit. It's wet fresco, an elegant dress, elaborate coif, which means her hair, and rouge lips. Here's that bull leaping palace at Gnosis. It's Minoan Greece, 1450 to 1400 BCE. Very lively and spontaneous. Young women were always portrayed with fair skin, and young men had dark skin. Typical Minoan pinched waist and long curly hair. So that was something that you really see with this Minoan art, is the waist is really small and they have very long curly hair. Miniature ships fresco from West House, Cyclotic, Greece, 1650 BCE. This is actually in excellent condition. The volcano buried the city in pumice and ash, and in 1628 BCE, and that was the date of a pretty major climate event. Detailed representation of the movement of ships and people from port to port. And the composition is open and light. It reflects freedom of people born near the sea. The spring fresco, Cyclotic, Greece, 1650 BCE. That nature is the only subject here, and it is the first known example of pure landscape painting, where they don't have any people involved in it at all. Chimeras ware Vase, Minoan, Greece, 1800 to 1700 BCE. It really shows a love of nature. They're very sophisticated shapes, something new that just happened, that they just started using a potter's wheel as opposed to just coil method. It's a really creamy white and reddish brown on black background. It has abstract and also natural forms that complement the shape of the vase. It always looks to me like it's a little bird with its beak sticking up. Marine style octopus jar, Minoan, Greece, 1500 BCE. It's inspired by the sea and sea creatures. The tentacles curve over the vessel. The relationship between vessel shape and decoration is very evident. You can see that it really makes a big difference to how that looks. And it has a unique reversed color thing going on with it, where the dark figures are on a light background, and was not super common at the time. So that's has kind of an interesting little twist to it there. Let's move right along. So unfortunately that kind of moved my camera just a little. Let's see if we can get that to be, there we go. Okay, so this is the sarcophagus, Minoan, Greece, 1450 to 1400. Illustrates the funerary rites in honor of the dead, and it has a lot of really great detail on it. You can see the color palette that they used, and remember that a lot of these antiquities were painted very brightly. This is the harvester vase we looked at briefly earlier. It's Minoan, Greece, 1500 BCE. Best surviving example of Minoan relief sculpture. Remember, this is bas relief, so it's a very, BAS bas. It's very low. It has bursts with energy, individually characterized figures, and the faces are very animated. And what that means by individually characterized is that they look like individuals. In other words, they're not just the same face, sculpted over and over. The snake goddess, Palace of Gnosis, Minoan, Greece, 1600 BCE. It's one of several similar figurines and possibly represents mortal attendants. The thinking is exposed breasts might mean or represent fertility, and the feline on the head plus the snakes may be a deity, a goddess. Open bodice plus the flounced skirt equals Minoan. Check out the pinched waist, right? We can't see the hair on this one, but it's also long and curly. Young god, Minoan, Greece. This is 1500 to 1475 BCE. Hippopotamus tusk ivory. So this is, or hippopotamus tusk ivory. Gold, serpentine, and rock crystal. This is a very early example of gold and ivory sculpture. The ivory and gold were probably imported from Egypt, as well as the left foot forward stance, which is a common one there. This is the aerial view of the Citadel at Terrans, Greece, 1400 to 1200 BCE. These are Mycenaean remains. It was a fortified palace that burned between 1250 and 1200 BCE. Pretty large area of fortified palace there. The Corbelled Gallery in the walls of the Citadel, Terrans, Greece, 1400 to 1200 BCE. Homer referred to as Terrans of the Great Walls. Later Greeks attributed the construction to the Cyclopses, right? Cyclopean masonry is what they call it. The walls are 20 feet thick. A corbelled vault, which is cantilevered inward to create the pointed arch, which was fairly new at the time. Here's the plan of the palace in southern part of the Citadel, Terrans, Greece. The Megaron was a reception hall of the king. The throne is against the right wall and central hearth and is bordered by 4 Minoan-style wooden columns. That kind of shows you where we're at. Here's the Lion Gate. Remember we said enter through the Lion's Gate of Mycenaean Greece, 1300 to 1250 BCE. That's the outer gateway. The gate has 2 great monoliths capped with a huge lintel. And they have a kind of bas-relief triangle that lightens the weight. It's a limestone slab that has 2 lions carved in high relief on opposite sides of the Minoan type column in the middle there. This is the treasury of Atreus, Mycenaean Greece, 1300 to 1250 BCE. Wealthy people were buried outside citadel walls in beehive tombs. The best preserved is the Tholos tomb, and you can see the weight-relieving triangle at the top of that lintel. The vault at Tholos and of the treasury of Atreus, Mycenaean Greece, 1300, 1250 BCE. Stone corbelled rows laid in a circular base, creating a dome. That's what it consists of. And you can kind of see the dome there. 43 feet high. It's the largest known vaulted space without interior supports that has ever been built. This is kind of huge, right? Nothing compares to this. Here's that funerary mask, 1600 to 1500 BCE. The dead were laid to rest on the floor of deep shafts with masks covering their faces, right? That's kind of how the Egyptians had a death mask. It has beaten gold mat. It's a beaten gold. It's one of the first known Greek attempts to render life-size human face. Both youthful and mature faces are shown here. And we have the inlaid dagger blade, Mycenaean Greece, 1600 to 1500 BCE. These were found in graves. Bronze dagger blades were inlaid with gold and silver. It really showed the wealth of the Mycenaean kings, plus their warlike nature. The lion hunt theme is borrowed from the Near East. This is a female head of Mycenaean Greece, 1300 to 1250 BCE. It's a large-scale figure art that's very rare on the Greek mainland. It's 6.5 inches tall, plaster face. The white flesh tone always connotated females. Notice the cheeks and chin have red circles surrounded by a ring of red dots, possibly facial paint or tattoos that would have been popular at the time. This is the warrior vase of Mycenaean Greece, 1200 BCE. It's one of the latest examples of Bronze Age vase painting. It's called a crater. It was a bowl for mixing wine and water, and that was done because a lot of times water was unhealthy to drink. People would get sick from drinking it because it had bacteria in it that would make you sick. So they would mix alcohol, like wine, with the water in order to disinfect it, which was a smart thing to do at that time. It shows soldiers marching off to war, and it lacks landscape elements that characterized earlier Minoan and Mycenaean art, but there is a repeated pattern throughout. So that's it for our lecture on the Aegean and Mycenaean Greece. So let's talk in the next lecture.